Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about the one thing that we all want to avoid having, which is failure. But exactly what is the definition of failure? Usually people will think of it as, okay, I did not achieve it, maybe academic grades, or I did not manage to achieve my first bucket of gold, I did not earn money, so that is failure. So most of the time when we talk about the word failure, it is a I would say it's a qualitative term. Sorry, it should be a quantitative term. It's a quantitative term where we talk about measured by the grades that you got, measured by the amount of money that you accumulated, the wealth you accumulated, so on and so forth. But in my opinion, failure is something that will help to push me to the next level. Because this is actually something that tells you that whatever you have done so far, sorry, it does not work. So which means to say that it is better for you to re-evaluate yourself and to see what are the things that you have done up to this point. And of course the main thing is to do things differently so that you can move on in life. So failure is a very negative emotion. People do not like it, people do not want to go to it, and someone that continuously achieves successes in their life will say that I will never ever want to come close to failure. But the hard truth is this: a person who has never experienced failure will not understood the value of being successful. So if you want to achieve successes, I would say that maybe first take a look at failure. And failure is not something that should be negative, although this is commonly the thing that people get very emotional about. Like your parent will start screaming at you, how can you fail your PSLE? What are you going to do in life? Are you going to retake your PSLE? So truth to be told, I've encountered with people who have failed their PSLE. In fact, they continue to stay in school and then in the next year, they retake their PSLE. But the school that I came from, which is after year, there will still be people who is actually in school taking their PSLE. But with each failure attempt, I would say that the person should have gotten a bit better to understand what works, what doesn't work. So I would say that this is a point that will help you to bring forward. It's not a point that will be the end. And the second point about failure is this: many people would want to say that this is something not good and this is something that should have never happened to you. But if you start to embrace failure, you will start to see that and be happy about it. You will start to see that this is actually something that can aid you to move forward in the next stage of your academic or the next stage of your life. Because there's always things that you can learn from. And if you are failing, it also means to say that good job, you are trying your best. So yeah, you have done it, but you have not been able to achieve it. Then look back and see what are the things that has went wrong and try to move on and make it better. So coming to the next point about failure. Failure is also about being able to move forward, and because failure is the things that you have to step on. So the more number of failure you have gotten in life, the better you will be, because you have attempted and tried all means of ways of doing the same thing, but somehow or rather after the 10th time or 20th time you start to realize the 21st time is the achievement that you will get. Because after trying all 20 times, you will know that they don't work and you want to do something different. So just for example, when I talk about myself, I have tried to do languages and humanity in the past. So this is not something that I'm very naturally good in. At some point in time, I was able to achieve the grades that I want, but it wasn't consistent. And then the next rounds of exam, I find that I failed the exam again. But this did not get me to just not think about it anymore. So this is not naturally good in, but it might be because the way I approach it might be wrong. It might be because the way I study it will be wrong. So truth to be told, memorizing any form of examination is not going to help you. And I use each failure point to help me to build on it, and then I got better in the next round. So think of failure as a stepping stone. Even if, let's say at this point, you have failed your exams, it does not mean that you will fail the next exam. Even if you have not done well in a PSLE, it also does not mean that you will not do well in your O-level. There are many good examples of people who went through a different route and then eventually becoming very successful in life. So I do not think that failure is the end point, but failure is the stepping stones. It's part of the process. In fact, if you adopt it, you make it better the next time round, then failure is something that is healthy for you. And of course, failure, it means to say that this is where you want to stop. If let's say it's really not working out, after 10,000 times, if you find that it's not really working out, it might also be an opportunity to start exploring other opportunities. So for instance, let's say you find that you are not academically strong. It might be the case where you are strong in other areas. Let's say you have been diving into the exploring the different ways to build animations. Maybe that is your strength. Then you go for that. But of course, I think last point to take note is that while you are at it, make sure you are consistently working on it. So the word consistent is a very big word. If let's say you did it once and then after that you find that it's not working out, and by then you skip to another opportunity, then that is also not the right way to do it. Because you need to consistently be doing it, and after many times, if it's still not working, then maybe it's time to move on to another opportunity. So this is the last slide of my video. I hope that you have a better understanding of the word failure, and it is not necessarily has to be a negative emotion. In fact, it is something that should propel you to move on and actually try to do something else if eventually you find that what you were trying to do does not work out. But it is definitely something happy. If you learn to embrace it, you might actually find that you can actually do much better things, much greater things in the future. Thank you for your attention. I hope to see you again in the next video. If you like the video, please help me to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you very much. I will see you again in the next video.